everybody, and welcome to another episode of Matters Ago. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've noticed on YouTube that sort of bums me out. It's this weird trend of like YouTube sort of in a way turning into like TV in a sense, or mainstream media as it's often referred to, with things like game show formats and like even podcasting in a way is sort of like an internet version of a talk show, but now it's kind of almost evolving into a point where we're going to end up with YouTube talk shows and stuff like that. It kind of bums me out just in the sense that when you go back through the years of YouTube, it's gone through periods where it made its own genres, like things that could really only exist on the internet or on YouTube, because it's such a popular platform. Like things like, well, this ranting. There really wasn't really just straight up rant videos on TV or in mainstream media. It was something that was almost specific to the internet. You could call these like a blog post, I guess, or just like little think pieces from random people or whatever you want to call it. But it's something that is, the style is of YouTube, it's of its time when it was its most popular and whatnot, and it's something that is like really just like a YouTube thing. Other things would include like even reaction videos, which in past rants I have ranted about, but over time things have changed. I've grown myself, and also the format itself has changed where it's broadened. So reaction videos aren't what they first were, which was literally a video in the corner and people just staring at it and then go, ha, video is funny. It's evolved into other formats, and there are a lot of reaction formats that I really do kind of enjoy, especially ones around music where you get to see someone hear a band that they haven't heard of for the first time or something like that. It can be informative, fun and interesting, but it is a genre that is specific to the internet and to YouTube. It's pretty much a YouTube thing, the old react channels. And even like the angry video genre, like you have that waffle pone with the classic, his Warcraft gets terminated and he's like jumping around the room and doing weird stuff with the remote. It's genres like that are like, they got their own little bit of charm to them, but they're extra special because they're something that really could only actually exist on this platform, YouTube, or on the internet in general. And if I say YouTube over and over again as if it could only have existed on YouTube, only because in the early days of the internet there were video sharing sites, but it was always sort of like gross out stuff, or even like a primitive version of what a lot of people would call TikTok content, because a lot of it was just like a really quick video with something really funny that was usually very juvenile. I will give those videos credit that somehow, even with as juvenile as some of the content was, I would personally say it had a bit more intellect to it than the stuff we're getting from TikTok. But that rant aside, I'll do a video about TikTok eventually and how fucking shit I think that platform is. But for now, we're just going to keep going on about how YouTube is sort of, in a way, becoming a television surfing channel thing. Like, it's cable in a sense. Like, I don't like this whole Mr. Beast guy. Now look, the whole Chris Tyson thing aside, that's maybe another video down the road because there's a lot to unpack there. But just the format of this guy's videos I've never really liked. I've always found them very corny, and maybe it's because I'm not the demographic, but even just from just a concept point of view, I fucking hate the concept. This thing of like, win $100,000 for standing in a square, or you win $100,000 for like, touching a casket for 10 hours or something. Just this really formulaic, kind of almost really shitty, uncreative, like Ellen DeGeneres show kind of content. It's, to me, it's not my flavor at all. I don't like it, and it's way too much like what I escaped when I came on the internet, because my generation, the millennials, it wasn't commonplace for every house to have internet when I was growing up. So I came into the internet and using it every day much later on. Like, it was probably around 2013 when I started using the internet every single day and for all my entertainment purposes. Up until that point, I was watching television shows and whatnot, like old school style of motherfucker or whatever, which to a lot of people will sound crazy, but it was partially due to the economics of my situation at the time, and also partly due to a personal choice. My first exposure to the internet was by, it was in 2008, and by someone who, would be the type to make a video of someone reacting to Two Girls One Cup. So my first exposure was, hey, look at all this really fuck shit that is really gross and funny to talk about, but you don't want to see a one guy, one jar, and that kind of ilk of the internet. So at first, my first exposure, I was like, I really don't want this every day. It seems like kind of convoluted and shit. Obviously, years later, I would come around to the idea of using it for my entertainment purposes. And one of my favorite platforms has always been for entertainment purposes, YouTube. And I always liked its uniqueness because I went from TV to now having this like user-made content that was just completely foreign as far as genre and stylistic choices. It was completely different to what I'd been watching up until that point, and it's part of what gave it its charm. Like, you got the rant videos, you got the music critics, you got the, even the long video essays, and even the commentary community. Because coming in at 2013, like, the internet's brand new to me, and I'm first getting exposed to it, and that's one of the first genres that kicks off. So it'll always sort of have a soft place in my heart, even though over the years it's kind of lost its edge, and a lot of it is just not as like punchy and funny and entertaining as it once was. But still, there are some good people out there doing some great stuff on this platform. I'm just really bummed out in the direction that YouTube seems to be going. When they first introduced AdSense, everyone had ads on their video and maybe even had a sponsor, but the content for the longest time sort of kept its uniqueness. There were new genres coming out like the Angry Gamer reviews and, other stuff like that, And it was great because now these people have a budget to make the editing better, to have incentive to put more effort into the videos. And there was like a peak period around 2016-15 where it like kind of toppled out. We got to like the best point where the content was still very unique and of its style on YouTube, but they had the budget to expand upon it and use better cameras and like, you had the Psycho Kids series, which was greatly entertaining. It is one of those things that if you went back and watched it like as we watched it when it was being released, it'd be boring as fuck. Just get like a summarized kind of version if you're going to go and suss that out if you haven't seen it yet. But a very uniquely Australian thing, mostly just vlogs with a big stunt at the end that he was able to do because of his AdSense and the money he was making. And it was still great, but then it kind of turned a corner at some point. I believe it's when Vine like collapsed, and then a lot of these Vine people came over to YouTube, and these people were just, for the most part, not quite as maybe ambitious or creative, or they were more famous centric, because a lot of the early people on YouTube were like somewhat famous centric because if you're putting yourself out there, there's got to be at least a little part of you that would hope that it got you big and famous and well known around the world or whatever. But for the most part, it was just for the enjoyment of sharing ideas and jokes and making videos. And if you could get paid to do that, you could make the videos better. So the incentive was still on the individual to make their thing that they like to make. But as time went by and people who were more interested in the money and fame side of things, it just became more and more like mainstream media and like television. Like there's this group from the UK called the Sidemen. Now look, it's childish, yeah, okay, so it's not probably of a demographic for most people. It really is, you can tell the target audience is like young teenagers and whatnot, but I will concede that they've had some moments that were quite entertaining, and I would say that some of their best content was the stuff that was a bit more YouTube centric, like the reaction videos or gaming let's plays together and all that sort of stuff. Had a lot more golden moments than this boring kind of manufactured, made to make money and shill their clothing brand content that they're making now. Sure, some of it you can get a giggle out of every now and again, but it doesn't have that same feel that really brought me into YouTube in the first place. It's just kind of commercialized dreck at this point, and as time goes by, it's leaning more towards like that. It used to be fun, just a bunch of guys together having a banter, just a bunch of friends just having a laugh together, but it's moving towards more like television friendly-esque sort of stuff. And I just think it's a real shame that obviously whenever you start bringing fame and money into things, people are going to change, and you always hope they'll change for the better, but you just don't know with all these new people coming to a platform what the changes are going to be. And unfortunately, over the last, like, I want to say probably like 6, 7, 8, 9 years, it seems to be leaning towards more people becoming more sterilized and bland. You don't see as many new creators coming out as you once did, who were just doing their own thing or something completely different, or even people who were seeing other people make a genre and get inspired, because that was also cool as well. Like, YouTube gives us videos where people just go exploring, which is very uniquely of a YouTube kind of platform sort of thing. TV had documentaries and that, but we used to have our own identity on this platform, but it seems over time that is becoming less and less of a thing. Part of the reason why I do like making Mad as a Goat is because it's like keeping alive a pretty much dead genre on the internet. The days of just someone ranting at a camera, like with no edits and just ranting their opinions, is almost a dead genre that you just don't see anymore. You could argue that a commentary video does the same, but they're more well edited and more in the format of something that you might actually see in a documentary and on TV. And in some cases, that's great, and it gives the content more legitimacy and all that, and I understand. I just feel it's kind of sad that it's moving more towards a sterilized television product rather than like a user-made, individualistic sort of ambitious, maybe even pioneering sort of idea. I don't know. This is just my opinion on how the platform is going. Who knows? Maybe I'll change my opinion in time. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I don't know. It's just something that I've noticed that bums me out. It was mostly just an excuse to mention Mr. Beast and how his content is too formulaic and shit for my taste, amongst other things that are wrong with Mr. Beast. Anyway, that was today's episode of Mad as a Goat. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thankfully, in this video, we're not going to have 2 minutes of dead screen because I was extremely tired and forgot to pull the clip back to the start of the timeline before exporting it. Anyway, unnecessary information. That was Mad as a Goat. See you next time.